Okay, super. Okay, so as David was saying, I'm Alba. I'm the co-CEO and co-founder of BCome. And today we are going to talk about the uncommon regulation and this framework that European Commission is working right now in terms of legislation and compliance. I will try to do my best because it's complex to understand, but I just made this presentation like I try to be very didactic here. So any question, just stop me and I will answer it and let's start. So first of all, with this agenda of today, basically we are going to put words on this regulation framework. We are going to start talking about the regulation political system, putting into context, and then we are going to move and to know a little bit deeply three important regulations: the Waste Regulation Directive, the Eco Design for Sustainable product regulation that also covers the digital product passport, and then the Empower Consumers and Green Claims. We are going to conclude the webinar with some do's and don'ts, and then conclusions and which stakeholder groups are affected by this regulation. So it's quite complete. I will try to do it in 1 hour and a half or 15 minutes. So probably some of the issues I will cover it from more generical, more overview, but in case you need more information, just email me and I will deeply respond to all the questions. So a few words before I start of what is BCome. As David was saying, BCome is a startup based in Barcelona that basically we empower textile and apparel businesses to build responsible supply chain, guarantee transparency, and bring it to final customers. BCome was founded in 2019 right now, and we are pioneers in the application of intelligent methodologies for global sustainability impact assessment. And we are proud to say that we have more than 50 clients right now, such as EcoAlf, Saye, or Monique. So moving on the matter of today, as I was saying, one moment, because I don't know, are you seeing the screen right?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
I'm seeing
Okay.
the presentation, yes.
Okay. So I am sure that you have heard about these concepts lately: corporate sustainability due diligence, revision of waste framework directive, corporate sustainability reporting directive, digital product passport. So there are a lot of namings that started to sound a bell right now to all of us. But what is behind these regulations? Why are these regulations are being implemented? When these regulations will be implemented? What these regulations are talking about? For who are these regulations designed for? And how this regulation will be implemented? So today I'm going to try to answer these questions with the webinar that we have. First of all, we need to understand the political ecosystem, because it is important to know that when a norm or a regulation or directive comes into force, it happened three important things before. First of all, that norms are adopted at different decision-maker levels. So European Union makes a decision, then this decision needs to be covered by member states, and these member states need to be, and this regulation, needs also to be covered by regions. Second, because there is different effect for each of the type norm. First of all, we have regulations that are mandatory and have direct application to all member states. So this happens, for example, with the eco design requirement regulation. But then we have directives. The directives needs to be transported into national law within the 2 years. In this case, we have a directive that comes directly from European, and then the member states need to be transport this directive into national laws. And then we need to understand that all the regulations, all the directive, all the framework that it's being sought by European Union, it's happening through a co-decision process. So when a regulation comes into forms, means that the Commission has put the thoughts, the industry, the council, the parliament, the society. So this context really makes really complex the situation of regulation, and that's why maybe it's so complicated for us to understand what is happening right now in terms of compliance. So moving on and putting into context, everything of the regulation that we are going to talk today comes through the Green Deal. The Green Deal appears to be like the game changer for sustainable fashion in Europe. Was adopted in 2019, and basically it's a plan by the European Union designed to affect member states, businesses, and citizens to accelerate the transition towards sustainability economic. Why Green Deal is important? It's important because it pretends to set ambitious targets for reducing greenhouse emissions neutrality by 2050. It's the introduction of several legislative initiatives meant to promoting sustainable practices in the fashion industry. And probably the most important for us, because it requires transparency and supply to ensure compliance and progress through sustainability. So basically, the Green Deal is a framework, a very ambitious framework. And in the Green Deal, we have the Circular Economy Plan. The Circular Economy Plan aims to transition the European economy from a linear production model to a circular model. And basically, it's one of the main pillars of this European Green Deal that we were talking about before. It's like the new agenda for this new sustainable growth in Europe. And as I was saying, means to move away from this traditional model of take, make, this as a system where source tested or recommended, but not yet approved. Then we have inconsolation. That is when there is an undergoing process of discussion and feedback, typically with the stakeholders and European Union. 4, pending of adoption, when it's awaiting formal acceptance or ratification by the relevant authority. 5, when the regulation or directive is adopted, means that has been received formal approval, but not yet been enforced. Then we have when the regulation or directive becomes active, means that currently is in effect and being enforced. And then when become informed, similar to active, but it means that it's 100% operational and must be complied with. So this is important to understand because the regulations and the directives that we are going to talk today most of them are adopted or pending in adoption or in consultation. So that means that none of the regulation that we're going to talk today, except for waste directives, are active, but we need to make sure that we really control this directive because they will become active sooner or later in the next 2 to 5 years. So first, moving on. The first directive that I want to explain to you is this Waste Framework Directive and the extended harmonized EPR for textiles. This one, as I was saying, is the only one that is in force right now. And basically, the Waste Framework Directive established a broad framework for European waste management, promoting waste prevention, reuse, recycle, and recovery. There are 2 main requirements here. First one, to set the general principles and goals on waste management for all member states. And second, this include waste hierarchy. Later, I will explain what is waste hierarchy in deeply, and setting recycle reuse targets for specific waste streams. Basically, it applies universal to all sizes of entities involved in waste production and management. It was adopted in 2008 and it remains in effect. But what happened to this Waste Framework Directive? What happened is that right now is in revision, and this revision basically aims to enhance waste management of textiles and food waste by increased collection and recycling rates for textile waste. This is happening because, as you know, we have a big problem with all the waste that we are producing with all the supply chain producers. So we need to put some solutions there. There are 3 main requirements here. First of all, the adoption of detailed plans of waste management. Second, new obligations to separate collection for textile waste by 2025. And third, to implement the EPR for textile to ensure producers contribute to the cost managing textiles waste and setting specific targets for waste production are recycled. So all the producers will be responsible for this waste management. Basically, it applies as the other one universally to all sizes of entities involved in waste production and management, local and national waste management authorities, producers, handle of waste, and including all industries and consumers. Timeline here. The European Commission proposes harmonized EPR for textile in 2023 as part of this Waste Framework Directive revision. And right now it's currently being debated between the European Parliament and the Council of European Union. So basically the final revisal for this Waste Framework Directive supposed to be active by 2024, final 2024, first 2025.
Sorry, Alba, what do you mean by EPR?
Extended producer responsible.
Extended.
Yeah.
And when you talk about producers, it means all the producers within the value chain?
Yeah. Yeah. I can, let me explain you this requirement that maybe I can answer these questions to you. So basically, it extends the responsibility of waste management to all producers. So it basically affects directly to you. So I can summarize these requirements in these following points. First of all, the waste hierarchy that I was talking before. Basically, the Waste Framework Directive established a waste hierarchy that prioritizes waste prevention, preparing for reuse, recycle, recovering, and disposal at last resort. This means basically that European Union members are required to take measures to encourage this prevention of waste generation of fair play. So basically the waste hierarchy is a ranking system that prioritizes different ways of dealing with waste, with the most environmental friendly options at the top. That in this case, it's waste prevention. So here there are some requirements that needs to be implemented. In this case, it's more from a brand side to prevent the waste. Sorry, I lose my mind. To prevent the waste. Sorry. Then waste management plan. The directive requires basically that member states to develop waste management plans to set out national waste prevention and recovery targets. This plan also must identifies these measures that will take in to achieve these targets. Third, separate collection. The Waste Framework Directive also promotes separate collection of different waste fractions, such as paper, metal, plastic, and glass. And this separation at the source facilitates recycle and recovery of these materials. So in this case, for example, this one directly applies to producers because you will need also to separate during all the production process. Then the producer responsibility that we were talking about, the Waste Framework Directive introduced the producer responsibility schemes, which means that producers take financial and organizational responsibility for the collection and treatment of waste of their products. These incentives producers to design products that are easier to recycle or reuse and to take back waste products at the end of their lifespan. So this is important to understand because you will need to take care of all the waste that you are producing. I cannot give you detailed requirements on this because this is a revision of an actual regulation that it's under discussion. So I can give you right now like the broad overview, and the requirements are being under discussion right now. So I can just give you like the big schema of what will be included in this revision of waste directive. Then landfilling restrictions. This waste framework directive also restricts the landfilling of certain types of waste, such as municipal waste or such as textile waste too. Then waste prevention. Here, the directive encourages waste prevention measures, such as promoting product design for recyclability and use. And finally, data reporting. That means that all member states will need to report data on waste generation. So this is also an important issue to take care about, because we will need to report all the data of the waste that we are generating to monitor the progress towards this circularity new era that European Union is proposing.
Yes, short consideration, Alba, to be clear in one point that Mariem asked about the producer, no? Related to the responsibility of the producer. The producer is the law consider the producer the company who put the product into the market. So the responsibility of this waste when the product arrives to the final of its life is the producer, that company who puts the product into the market. But at the end, all the regulations and all the costs involve all the value chain. So
exactly,
this is
it's
an important
indirectly,
thing.
directly applied.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. I have a slide where you can where I just classificate these different stakeholders, and you will have a clear overview on that. But yes, it's not that directly applies to you, but indirectly you are affected by this, because at the end of the day, I mean, the brand is affected directly by this framework, but the brand doesn't work alone, works with a lot of suppliers, have a lot of suppliers behind. So you need to take care about this waste regulation very deeply.
Yeah, yeah. And
I would suggest that
the company should, the producer should to pay a tax, no? And this tax is part of the cost of the product, and well, this is a important consideration also. And only this specific point. Sorry, Alba.
Super. Okay, so moving on to the next one. This is the Eco Design for Sustainable Product Regulation, and we are also going to cover the Digital Product Passport. This also affects to you directly, indirectly, as we were saying, because at the end, the brand is the final responsible, but there are a lot of requirements in terms of materiality, in terms of recyclability, that really affects to the suppliers of the supply chain. Basically, the Eco-Design for Sustainable Product Regulation aims to promote a transition towards a more circular and sustainable economy in European Union by reducing the negative environmental impacts associated with the product life cycle. There are three important requirements here to understand. First of all, to set the minimum requirements for physical performance of products in terms of durability, reparability, recyclability, and environmental footprint. Then to include this digital product passport. And third, to set the objective for the ban of destruction of unsold foodwear product textile, which this will become a real problem, because what we will do with all these unsold of all these unsold productions that all brands have. The scope is an entry requirement, so every brand that sells in European market is directly affected, and SMI will receive financial help and initially will be excluded from the ban of destruction of gold salt, which is the timeline. So right now, this regulation is in the final stage, so has been adopted, and it will become to comes into force during this last 2024. It is important to understand that this regulation will not cover the three requirements from the beginning, so it will be parted in three priorities. First of all, in Q2 2025, it will be set the reporting obligation on the destruction of unsold goods. Then 2026, the ban on destruction of unsold goods, and then 2027, the textile companies will have to comply with this delegated act of ESPR. Which are the main four concepts in this regulation? First of all, it's a regulation, so it's mandatory, so it's directly applied to all European members. And there are four key concepts to understand. First of all, it became the scope, it became expanded. That means that this regulation amends the current eco-design directive, but what is changing right now? Basically, that the eco-design regulation has been focused with the mainly on energy-related products. And this new regulation has a broader scope and basically covers all the categories physical goods in European market, like textile products. Second one, the eco-design requirements. So this regulation basically establishes these specific eco-design requirements to improve the circularity, energy performance, and other aspects on the environmental sustainability products. And these include, as I was saying, regulations like durability, reusability, upgradability, reparability, so a lot of ability, and resource, energy efficiency, recycled content, remanufacturing, and recycle. Third, and probably the most hot topic right now around the textile industry, it's this new digital product passport that basically is this new innovative feature that all the products will be need to introduce this digital product passport that will provide this detailed information on the environmental sustainability of the product. Basically, the objective is to help consumers and businesses to make more informed decisions and facilitate the repair and recycle of products. And fourth, the fourth key concept and also the objective of the Green Deal that I was explaining before, it's a direct impact on the reduction of energy and environment. So it's expected that with this regulation by 2023, it became the results in significant savings in primary energy contributing to the reduction of European dependency on energy and decrease in greenhouse emissions. So 4 important concepts here: expanded the scope, eco-design requirements, digital product passport, and the impact on energy and environmental. But at the end of the day, which are the real requirements of these regulations? It can be summarized in these points. First of all, durability and reliability. So products should be designed to maximize their useful life and guarantee their reliability during the use. So this means work with really better materials at the end of the day. Second, reusability and upgradability. So products should be designed to be reusable and upgradable, thus promoting a longer life cycle and reducing the need of new resources, so reduce the waste. Third, reparability and maintenance. That means that products should be easy to repair and maintain, allowing users or technological services to carry out repairs efficiently. Fourth, the presence of hazardous substances. This regulation also aims to minimize or eliminate the use of substances that could be harmful for the environment or human health in products. So from these 4, you will be affected with this durability and reliability because at the end of the day, it affects the materials. And then with the presence of hazardous substances in terms of which chemicals are you using if you are doing wet processes, or which pesticides are you using if you are cultivating cotton. I don't know which is the focus of your company, but it is true that you will be affected with these 2 requirements. Then for more requirements here in ESPR, the efficiency use of energy and resources. So this regulation aims to promote this energy efficiency and resource throughout the product life cycle. So also this requirement affects to you. Then recycled content. This means that the regulation encourages the use of recycled materials in the manufacturing of new products, supporting this new circularity approach. Then the high quality remanufacture and recycle. That means that products should be designed always to facilitate this efficiency disassembling and recycle at the end of their useful life. And last, the carbon footprint and environmental impact reduction. That means that products should be designed and manufactured to minimize their overall environmental impact, including their carbon footprint. So these requirements are very high, they're very important for the brands, but what will happen is that brands will need to take some decisions that it will affect to you directly. basically, as I was saying, in terms of materials and also in terms of using this efficiency use of energy and resources in your facilities. Next, inside the ESPR, as I was saying, there is an important requirement that is this digital product passport, the DPP. So what is this DPP? DPP basically aims to empower consumers, businesses, and policymakers to make informed decisions to promote sustainability and circularity throughout their process lifecycle. Basically, there are three important requirements here. First of all, to add this digital record of a product key characteristics throughout the entire life cycle. We're going to see some examples later. And then this digital record potentially includes 60 categories of information, including product origin, material composition, or impact assessment, among others. As the other one, this is a market entry requirement. So everyone that sells into European market is affected with this digital product passport. And as the other one, SMI will receive this financial help and initially are being excluded. Timeline, 3 phases here. Phase 1, in 2023, it's expected to be implement this simplified DPP with the main information of the product. Then 2030, advanced DPP included more information on supply chain. And third, full circular DPP, where all these 3 categories of information will be included. So basically, as I was saying, all this regulation provides a framework of different kind of requirements. In this case, in DPP, it provides a framework of the type of information that products should be will need to be included. But there is not a common consent of what will be the final indicators that will cover this DPP. But we know that indicators should be covering different aspects like durability, reusability, reparability, and maintenance. Also, the presence of hazardous substances, energy consumption, and efficiency, recycled content, recycled potential, etc. The idea, as I was saying, is to include this information to empower informed decisions, promote design practices, and accelerate this transition to a more circular and responsible fashion industry. This is an example of the indicators that could be included in this DPP. First of all, in general product information, we will need to put the product ID, the product weight, the manufacturing country, and the reference number. So this is like easy to cover. Second block, the raw material part, where we will need to add raw material supplier, raw material origin, and the raw material environmental impact. Third, the manufacturing processes. We will need to include manufacturing suppliers and processes, certification, and standards. Then logistics and transport, where we will need to include supply chain description, transportation methods used, carbon footprint, and carbon footprint of transportation. Then maintenance and repair instructions, and product warranties. And then the end of life cycle. So product disability instructions, recommended recycle processes, and other kind of recovery processes. And also, we will add this owner's story to track all the information on previous and current owners. So the scope is very broad, as you can see. And here the idea is to go from minimum to maximum. I mean, of course, the DPP, as I was saying, will not cover as the first phase with all these indicators. But the idea is to start covering with this general product information, some information on raw material, and then adding more indicators in phase 2 and in phase 3. Here, it's not that the DPP affects directly to suppliers, but it's true that brands will need to cover a lot of this information through you. So as the other one, you are indirectly affected with this regulation, and also because the DPP will need to put some chips on the labeling. So also you will need to put these chips on the labeling of the products too.
Alba, just another little consideration. I think that the idea of the digital product passport is not only to a better traceability of the products, also to empower the final consumer, and this
Yeah,
is I think that this is a important idea because I think that the idea of the European Union with this regulation is to give more information to the consumer to have good decisions, purchasing decisions. So for the brands and retailers, all this information will be important, and all the measures and the impact of their value chains will be important in the final decision of the consumers in order to choose one or other product. So this is the part of the opportunity to rebuild some value chains for brands in brands and retailers in Europe, and I think that this only to underline the importance to
yeah.
the final consumer and how this information about inside the DPP can orient the purchasing decision.
Yeah, exactly. So having all this information is not for free. As I was saying, I mean, this information basically, it will help to empower this informed decision making, not only for business, but as David was saying, also to consumers. And basically, it's part of this big plan of European Union to promote these sustainable design practices and to accelerate this transition to a more sustainable and circular model. So we should start with the consumers, of course. So yeah, that's the reason why it's so important, this digital product passport, and so innovative at the same time, because it will be the first time that the final consumers will have access to the story of the products in terms of impacts and in terms of all the supply chain. So yeah, for me, it's the most innovative part of all these regulations because it affects directly to consumers. The problem is that we have a lot of work to do for that, because I mean, brands doesn't know their supply chain, and first they need to trace, and then they need to cover the information, and then they need to put the information to the product. So it's important, and we will cover this topic later, to cooperate all together, because if we don't cooperate, this, for example, digital product passport, we cannot be applied for sure.
I have a question.
Super.
What is the feeling of the brands, especially the big ones, about the digital passport? Because it's revealing quite strategic information about their manufacturers, and sometimes all of them are producing in Asian countries, not not all the times with good conditions. So is there any
I think that
resistance from the brands, or they accepted that, or they are still negotiating?
They need to accept that, because this regulation it's being adopted already. So it just, I mean, they are concluding some details, but DPP will be in force during the next years for sure. So brands, I mean, they are afraid, but they don't have much to say right now in these terms. I mean, of course, there are a lot of lobbies that are pressure in terms of European Commission. So we need to see which of all these indicators will be coming to force in reality, but that brands should add this DPP to our products. I mean, this will be reality sooner or later. And there is another important part. I mean, big brands, or for example, for luxury brands, the DDP is an opportunity because they can trace all these. They can be sure that these products come from, for example, Loewe brands. So there are a lot of opportunities also behind the DPP. So of course they are afraid in terms of which kind of information will be added in these indicators, but they are also perceiving this DPP as an opportunity to enhance this fidelity also with their consumers. So I don't know. I think that there is not so bad for them. There are a lot of opportunities behind DPP. And at the end of the day, they don't have an option. I mean, they will need to include DPP for sure, 100%. So there is a big challenge for them in terms of.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, tell me.
Sorry, just continue.
No. I was about to say that there is a big challenge because the first step is to trace their supply chain, and the problem is that supply chains are so so big, so complex in fashion industry that this DPP basically force companies to put some order in their supply chain. And the big ones, they have started to work in this direction years ago. The problem is not with the big brands right now, because they have the resources. The problems are with the medium and the small brands here, because they don't have these big sustainability departments, big traceability departments in the companies. So it will become a problem for that companies, not for the big ones.
Okay, and for the European Union, practically how they are managing the is a unified platform where every brand will put the information, or how they are going to
This is a problem because I will come back to this slide because it's important to understand this. Okay, this is a directive. So it means that this directive needs to be transported into national law of each of the member states. So that means that European Union. I know, sorry, I was confused with green claims. Yes, this is a regulation. So it will be directly affect with all the state members, and the information will need to cover, for all the companies with same indicators. It will be not a platform, basically, it will be a chip where the content will be regulated by this regulation, but not the continent. That means that you will need to put, for example, product ID or product weight, but the European Union at the first site, we will see, it's not putting some regulations on how you are going to communicate this to the final consumer. So European Union said, okay, you need to put these indicators, you will need to add it in a chip from the label, but then the chip, the information that you can cover, the way you communicate this information to final consumer depends on you. I don't know if I am explaining myself.
Yes, very clear. Thank you.
Yeah, super. Yes. So there is not a platform. It's like the regulation to be covered, but there is not like a system that all the brands will put this information into it.
Okay. So each brand is managing this.
So moving on to the next one, that we are going to talk about how to communicate these claims on sustainability. And there are two important directives here: the Empower Consumers for the Green Transition and the Green Claims Directive. It's important to understand that these two directives are similar, but really are very different. At the end of the day, empowering consumers is the framework, and then green claims is the real requirements of how to apply this framework in terms of how to communicate green claims to end consumers. So if we start with empower consumers for the Green Transition Directive, so it's long name. As I was saying, this is like the framework, and basically the objective is to enable consumers to take informed purchasing decisions, and therefore to contribute to make more sustainable consumption and target unfair commercial practices that mislead basically consumers away from sustainable consumption choices. There is two important things here. It's to add mandatory requirements on durability and repairability with the objective to extend the length of use, and then to expand the blacklist of these prohibited green claims. So all the claims like eco-green or green will be 100% prohibited. And then it's important to understand that claims will be provided about the entire product when they're only applied to parts of it. For example, this is 100% or this is recycled when only it recycled at 10% of the total weight of the product. So this is important to understand. The scope. Basically, it's also entry market requirement, so it applies to all companies except here for micro enterprises. And again, SMI will have an extra year and can expect financial help. And another important thing here is that all the non-European companies can make environmental claims, can make voluntary environmental claims directly to European consumers. This proposal was adopted, was adopted on March 2024, and it's under discussion and to be enforced during the next year, approximately. Until this Empower Consumer for Green Transition Directive is not enforced, the Unfair Commercial Practices Directive is the only relevant law in terms of commercial activity, in terms of communication of green claims. So this is the framework that basically establishes these requirements to know how to communicate to consumers, but how to put these requirements active with the Green Claim Directive. So the Green Claim Directive, it basically tackle directly these false environmental claims by ensuring that buyers receive this reliable, comparable, and verifiable information to enable them to make more sustainable decisions and to reduce the risk of greenwashing. There's the requirement basically this directive introduced a more specific rules in terms of environmental claims made by companies with three important requirements here. First of all, requirements on substantiation of environmental claims. Second, requirements on communication of environmental claims. And third, new rules of environmental labels and labeling schemes. Later, we will explain the difference between claims and environmental labelings. Same as the other one, applies to all companies. SMI have an extra year, and this proposal, as the other one, was expected to be adopted in March, and right now it's under discussion to final adoption. So here, important to understand the difference of these two directives. So basically, this is two pieces of the decision from European Union that they have like the same objective, basically, to promote this sustainable consumption and tackling the greenwashing battle. They share, as I was saying, common goals, but they have very specific focus on approach. Basically, the Empower Consumers Directive, as I was saying, is a broader piece of legislation, while the Green Claims Directives is more specific. Here we have a table comparative where we can compare both directives. If we go road by road, we have in terms of focus, the focus of Empowerment Consumer Directive is that, as I was saying, it empowers consumer with information and tools to make informed and sustainable purchasing decisions, while Green Claims Directives establishes specific rules for environmental claims made by companies to combat greenwashing. So we need to follow very deep, we need to be very competent in terms of which a Green Claim Directive is saying. Then in terms of requirements, the Empowering Consumer Directives basically approach the overall transparency in businesses, practices, and product labeling with clear labeling, prohibition of misleading commercial practices, and combating these planet obsolescences. So it's very focused on this reliability and recyclability to extend this length of use. And then in terms of Green Claim Directives, the requirements, as I was saying, is the substantiation and communication of a specific environmental claims, providing these evidence requirements to support claims, product lifecycle information, and third-part verification data. Both of them applies to all companies except for micro enterprises, sorry, and both of them has been adopted in 2024 and expected to come into force in 2026. So sorry to be very focused here, but I want to make clear that this information is clear. Empower Consumers Directives is like the framework, and it's very focused on reparability and extend the length of use. And then Green Claims Directly put into action these specific rules for environmental claims.
Sorry, Alba, when you talk about, I have a question. When you talk about the unfair commercial practices, can you give us an example what includes that?
I have these do's and done and do's that with clear examples that we are going to cover now in 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
So before moving on, I think that it's important to understand the difference between claim and label, because it's not the same. Claim, it's any kind of message or representation which is not mandatory, including any text, pictorial, graphic, or symbolical representation that basically states or implies that a product or trader has a positive or no impact on the environment, or is less damaging to the environment than the other products, or has improved their impacts over time. So it's like claim that, okay, this product is 100% organic. This could be an environmental claim. But then labels means environmental labels mean the sustainability labeling covering only or predominantly environmental aspects of a product, process, or trader. So that means, like, for example, when everything comes in a label and it's 100%, 50% recycled content, 50% organic cotton. So it's different because claims are used as a final message to consumers. Normally, you put this in a sentence or in a commercial claim or in a marketing strategy or inside your web, whereas environmental labels are labels that put requirements on sustainability. So which is the requirement in terms of sustainability of environmental claims? So we are going to go deeply on these specific rules on how to communicate better in terms of sustainability with these green directives. First of all, is that firms or companies or brands will need to carry out this assessment to substantiate any environmental claims made with these third-party verifiers. And these assessments need to implement 5 important things. First of all, they will need to rely on recognized scientific evidence, accurate information, and relevant standards. Second, it will need to demonstrate the significance of environmental claims from a life cycle perspective. Third, to determine whether the claim applies to the entire product or specific parts, stages, or activities. 4, to demonstrate that the claim goes beyond the legal requirements imposed on such products or subproduct groups. And then to have backup information on environmental performance compared to common practice. So basically, this proposal requires consistent data, information, coverage, and assumptions to compare claims, including and indicating improvement, impact, and baseline. So we cannot make any claim if the data that we are communicating to final consumer has not been assessed with this verified and reliable methodology. Some examples here with these requirements on substantiation of environmental claims. So first of all, we need real data, we need verified data. So we cannot say this collection has been made with technologies that reduce CO2 emissions. We should say, thanks to shifting to renewable energies sources, this collection saved 285 tons of CO2 equivalent compared to the industry standard. So it's important to put the real data here behind this green claim. Second, to always talk from a life cycle perspective. So you cannot say we consume less water than our competitors due to organic materials. You should say from the extraction of raw materials to warehouse, we have used 30% less water than the industry standard. So always put context in this life cycle perspective. And third, do fair comparison. And this is very important because there are a lot of comparison in terms of green claims. You cannot say this cotton saved 30% of CO2 emissions compared to the production of a polyester dress. So you must say this recycled polyester dress saved 20% CO2 emissions compared to the production of a virgin polyester dress with equivalent properties. So basically, these requirements in terms of sustaination requires you to put real data, verified data, relevant data, and put all the data in context. So it's important to use like good language when you are communicating green claims. Then, which are the requirements on communication of environmental claims? So basically, environmental claims should be communicated as follows. First of all, when related to a final product, it should include guidance on reducing environmental impacts during the use phase with one main objective to the length of use. When linked to future environmental performance, it must include time-bound commitments for improvement inside the product's firm's operation and value chain. Third, only aggregated indicators that use European established rules for their calculations can serve as the basis of communication cumulative environmental impacts. And four, claims must include information on their substantiation, notably product details, covered impacts, relevant international standards, underlying calculations, and details of the process for achieving the climate improvement. So again, do's and don'ts to put examples of these difficult requirements. First of all, to make your claim significant. So you cannot say our latest collection is designed with a strong commitment on sustainability, because this means nothing. So you should say these sweaters, recycled materials reduce its global warming impact by 2.5 kilos CO2 equivalent compared to the industry standard. Second, to show true commitment. So you cannot say, we are really committed to reduce our water footprint during the coming year. You must say, our goal is to reduce our contribution to water scarcity from an average impact of 400K meter of water equivalent in 2023 to 350K in 2023. And third one, to provide accuracy. So you cannot say this product lowers CO2 emissions by 20% compared to this equivalent to the market. You must say this product lowers CO2 emissions by 20% compared to the standard. This claim is backed by following relevant methodologies, including the ISO 4040 for assessing its impact through its entire life cycle. So again, you cannot use like these big claims, and you need to put context, and you need to put real data, and you need to explain all the methodology that you have been used to achieve this impact assessment data. And then the requirements in terms of environmental labeling. So as I was saying, one things are the claims that are the final communication, and then the environmental labels that are the environmental labels that can tag a product. So environmental labels must meet all the substantiation and the communication requirements that we were saying, that we were explaining before. But in addition, these eco-labeling schemes must be transparent, accessible, and must have details in terms of ownership, objective, compliance monitoring, and procedures. Third, it should put the condition of joining such schemes must be proportionate to firm size and turnover. And third, restrictions will be applied for new publicly-owned schemes as well as. So the main idea of these requirements, because some of them are complex to understand, it's one concept, that it's all the claims must be strengthened with verified data. If you have good data, if you have a data that has been assessed with a relevant methodology, that you can trace all the data, that you have all the data quality covered, you are fine. I mean, you can operate correctly. The problem is when you are providing data that it's not well assessed. Then here you have a problem. And you have a problem because these claims, as I was saying, should be strengthened with verified data. And because this transparency and this verified data is the key to empowering this change that we were already talking before. So the problem here is that using misleading claims or bad claims, it becoming a reputational risk for fashion brands. So it's mandatory that they stop using these claims with irresponsibility and they start using these claims with responsibility. And of course, because these regulation directives in terms of green claims and empower consumers will shift these claims from optional claims to mandatory requirements. So it's important that the brands take care and become responsible on how they are communicating environmental claims. And here also more examples. This is a good example because you have a pair of socks, and with the packaging you have a label, but the labeling is complemented with this QR code, so you can have access to this full impact report assessment and the methodology used. Here there are two more examples where this brand is, for example, providing all this information in terms of impacts, in terms of water scarcity, global warming, eutrophication, and abiotic depletion. And they're also providing a full context and on their supply chain transparency, so you can combine both information. Another one, here we have a label also based on the AGEC requirement, which is another requirement of the French law. And basically this one said that it's comparative with industry standard. So if you click the industry standard, you can see the specification of the product comparison. So you can compare products if the specification scenario is well specified. And then here, it's important to know that all the data that must be shared with the consumers should be verified with a third part, like for example, BCome. So this includes a third-party verification, so it's good in terms of how to communicate data based on the Green Claims Directive. So now we have covered. Sorry, I have been maybe have run a lot with all the description of the legislations, but we had a small time. So we covered these three main regulations that I was saying that you should be aware of in terms of they are very advanced in terms of stage. But what is the scenario in terms of which are the stakeholders that are affected with these three regulations and directives that we have been covering before? As I was saying, these regulations should be applied in cooperation because there are a lot of stakeholder groups affected with these proposals, and all the stake groups are diverse. First of all, we have these fashion brands and retailers, and basically they will need to comply with this regulation regarding basically this product, material sourcing, product design, production practices, and this product labeling that will be affected with this DPP. Then these textile manufacturer suppliers that basically they will need to adjust production processes to meet stricter environmental and social standards, that basically the requirements will be sent by the brands. And indirectly, you will need to invest in new technologies or new processes in terms of facilities, for example. Then the distributors, that they will need to ensure that the products that they are offering are complying with the requirements of the different regulations, for example, the DPP. And then consumers, that it's not that it's affected, basically they are the reason why of most of these regulations. And basically these regulations aim to empower these consumers by providing them with access to detailed product information, enable them to make more information, and enabling them to make more informed purchasing decisions. So it's important here to understand that each of the stakeholders that I was explaining before is playing a crucial role in the transition to a more sustainable product market. So we have broad responsibilities going from design to production phase to post-consumer phase, and we need to cooperate all together and be committed to make sure that we are achieving this sustainability compliance with exit. And all this for what? Because I mean, there are a lot of regulations, there are a lot of directives, and these directives and regulations are affecting brands, producers, suppliers, distributors. So basically, because Europe is planning this new sustainable future for textiles, with one main objective is to make a cleaner and more competitive Europe. There are 6 main regions here that I will share to you because I think that it's important always to know why we are doing things. First of all, to drive this sustainable supply and demand. So clear design requirements in terms of eco-design will significantly and directly increase the availability and the preferences of sustainable products. ensuring that European is becoming this robot market with conscious choices in terms of consumption. So if Europe put the right requirements in terms of eco-design requirements, then the product on the market will be more sustainable per se. Second, because sustainable production, so production processes will undergo this transformative shift, incentivizing practices that minimizing the environmental impact and promoting this resource and energy efficiency that we were talking before. And of course, reduce waste generation, which is one of the main problems that right now we are facing in fashion industry. Third, to empower consumers. I mean, all the regulations are about consumers, to give the power that really needs to give this clear information about this environmental and social impact on textile. And this information will allow consumers to make these conscious choices and support sustainable brands. Next one, to put Europe in the level playing field for businesses. So the same standards will be applied to all products, and this will ensure this fair competition and incentivize sustainable practices across the industry. And this is important because, I mean, it's not fair that a brand makes some environmental claim in one data that has been measured with one standard, and then another brand measure the same product, but the data is different because the measure system is different. So we need to standardize all the models. Next one, to provide this competitive advantage to the European market and to put European leader of sustainable textile production. And this definitely will attract businesses and consumers to prioritize sustainability. And then to focus on ethical production. This will contribute to improve working conditions for textile workers throughout the supply chain, not only the ones that operate in Europe, but if we apply this regulation extended to all the supply chains directly, will be contribute to these improved working conditions. So these are like the 6 main reasons why European Union is putting so hard efforts in set these frameworks in terms of regulation. So if you want more information, we have this section on our website that it's called Learn Regulation Ladder, rather, that I can share it to you, David, so you can share it to the rest of the team. Here we try to tackle all the regulation, and it's like very clear explaining. We have like the description, the timeline, and the base requirements for each of them. And it's like just quick and easy way to know what is going on in terms of regulation in European Union. And from my side, I'm done. I tried to be very quickly so we could have time for questions. I will put this context slide to make sure that we can put context in case you have any question. I'm happy to answer any question you might have.
Yeah, thank you, Alba, for all those explanations. It was, really thoughtful. Because to tell you the truth, we are a little bit lost in translation with all this regulations announcements from the European Union and European Commission. So it's more clear for me, but still I need to read another time all the difference between the initiatives and what is directly impacting our activities and what is not.
Which are your activities, Mariam?
I mean, because our members are mainly producing for brands in Europe.
But manufacturers.
Manufacturers, yes. So basically, in terms of costs, it will impact, I guess. But in terms of logistics and of data assessment, I need to read again this information to see if there is any anything to reorganize in the companies for the data assessments from our side?
Yeah, in terms of data assessment, if you mean data assessment in terms of impact assessment, it's not that you will be required to make
Yeah, I mean, for example, the
impact.
the the carbon the carbon
Yeah,
print of the company who is manufacturing for example, for a European brand, it will impact the final product carbon print.
yeah. So you will need to report this kind of data
Yes.
assessment to brands. So it will be reporting in terms, just for example, the carbon footprint for scope 3, it will be need to be reporting by your side. Or for example, if they are doing a life cycle assessment to put impact data in these green claims, this impact assessment will be need to be done from you in terms of the manufacturer stage of impact assessment. So you will need to report whatever kind of impact assessment the brand may have to make sure that everything is well measured. But it's not that you are 100% affected to report constantly, I mean, X data assessment. So it will become naturally from the requirements that the brand should have. Same as DPP. I mean, it's not that during the next year you will need to cover all these indicators. So the indicators will become into force little by little.
Yes, but this could also be seen as an opportunity, especially for companies who are providing final products, ready-made products to the brands, because I mean they can offer that as a service to have all the assessment of
Yeah,
the carbon print or all the
yeah,
information available. That could
yeah,
be really competitive.
yeah, 100%. Because you have all trace and measure until manufacture, and then
Yeah,
it
they buy
becomes an
they buy, and sometimes they make
yeah,
they produce the fabrics also and the trims and everything, so they can have real impact on the footprints and
yeah,
the 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 DDP, the digital
yeah, definitely.
on the passports, yeah, on the product passports.
Yeah.
I I think, Mariam, that your cluster have a good point is proximity to Spain and to the European market and so on. I think that this is a good point of competitiveness. And related to all the regulations, I think that your companies are focused on producing denim products, isn't it?
No, we have many products from 2009. We were focused only on denim until 2019.
Ah,
Now we
okay.
have members producing knitwear, flat knit, also of all kinds of products.
Okay, so I think that all the points related to the use of recycled materials will be a trending topic for the future. I think that all the topics related to avoid chemical products in the
Mhm.
in the finishing process will be important also. All the topics related to water consumption is a very important thing, also in finishing processes. Well, I think that there are a lot of this kind of considerations related to the how we do the things in the industrial process and how to reduce the impact of our activities using different raw materials, recycled raw materials in this case, and all the energy, water consumption, and chemical products that we use in the process will be evaluate and rethink some of these aspects, probably.
Yes, sure.
Mm. Yeah, I think that Marimar, you are like very well, very visionary in terms of what is the opportunity behind all this regulation and legislation, because there are a lot of business opportunity there. Before this BCome platform, we were consultants and we work a lot with suppliers. In this case were Indian suppliers, and I was talking to Anna, which is my partner, I mean, about the big potential of the idea that you were saying to offer these final products, adding all this information in terms of requiring on the products per se. So basically you are offering this complete product to the brand, but of course also there is a lot of work from the supplier side. So there is an opportunity, but also I think that there is a lot of work to do. It's not that we cannot do it. It's like I think that we need to put it in order, and we need to go like step by step to make sure that everything is well performed.
Yes.
But the point is that keep in mind the idea that everything is changing, and during the next 10 years, I think that the face of this sector, at least in Europe, will change a lot, and it's very important, as Alba said, that not only the regulation flow, also how I can prepare my company, myself, to face this change. This is
Yes.
very important, very important.
Understand, yes. And
Yeah.
I have another question for the brands
Yeah.
who are not European but still in Europe. I mean, for they are going to be, of course, under the same regulation, so they need to comply to those regulations. Even, for example, a designer brand who is exported here from Morocco, for example, she needs to be compliant.
If it sells to in Europe, yes.
Yes.
So
And
there are a lot of regulations that are market entry condition. So if you are non-European brand or whatever, but you are selling in Europe, you are affected by these regulations, yes.
And even if you are not a brand, I mean, for example, the wholesalers who are importing goods, they are
Yes,
also under the regulation.
yes, because they are distributors, yes.
No distributors, okay.
Yeah.
And for the part of the claims you mentioned that the micro companies are excluded from this regulation. But what is the definition of micro enterprises in the European market?
Let me check, because micro means, yeah, fewer than 10 people.
10 people, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and less than 200K per year.
200. Okay,
The
okay.
revenue less than, yes, 200,000. Yeah.
Euro. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. But I mean, now are not affected, but they will be affected for
There will
sure.
be maybe
I mean, for
yes.
me,
Yes.
yeah, for me, more than the specification in terms of the requirements or the timeline, I mean, for me, it's a change of mindset. I mean, we need to put resources in sustainability, rather in facilities, rather in how to communicate, rather in the impact assessment that we are doing in traceability. And this is, I mean, it's not easy to understand sometimes, because it requires a cultural change. I mean, as I was saying, of course, the big brands has sustainability departments, but small or medium brands doesn't have sustainability departments because they don't have the resources. I mean, how you can put a department of 10 people, for example, if you are selling this product by 30 years and the final consumer is not buying this product by 30 years, I mean, the cost structure is so tight that small and big brands doesn't have more budget to put more departments on their structure cost. So
Yes.
it's complex, and for me it's to change the mindset and how we are going to work and how we are going to implement and to work towards sustainability inside the culture of our companies. Rather, I mean, independently that what the regulation requires or not, but it's a cultural change mindset. So for me, this is a complex part.
Okay.
Let me say, Alba, let me add that obviously all the big players like not only Inditex but Primark, Shein, all the big companies that put products into the European market should attend this new legislation. And in the eco design proposal, they put a chapter related to the inspection. I mean, the idea of the European Union is to use all the digital tools related to the digital product passport and so on to increase the inspections of the products that are coming into the market. So I think that this idea of the digitalization of the products is linked to the idea of increase the inspection in the market and in the frontiers, or I don't know, you know. Okay. I don't know if you have any more questions, no?
For me, it's okay. I don't know the girls.
Okay.
Did the girls have any question to?
The girls are in shock with all this information.
Yeah, I'm sorry because it was a lot of information. I mean, a lot of information. So what I am going to propose is I will share the information, and in case you need to have a quick call because the webinar was supposed to be 2 hours. So if you want to review the information and come back to me with some questions, I mean, just feel free. We can book like a quick call of 30 minutes or so, or just read me an email and I will answer it with all the information. But I think that it could be nice that you read all the information that I am going to share to you, and if you have context, feel free to contact me and we can manage to do another quick
Yeah,
call or through email.
yeah. Maybe one idea is to redo, because I saw the consistency of the information. I will suggest if you have time to order another session for our companies, and then if we can have also some examples on how brands are going to deal with one specific regulation, what they are preparing from the interior of the brands, how they are dealing with this specific regulation right now. That also will can be helpful for our company to figure out what their clients are working on right now.
Okay, we take notes and we can think about it, how we do maybe some webinar with more examples, or I don't know. I think that maybe David, I don't know how
That will
you
be
want to manage it.
another session to organize with our companies who should be with us, but we can see with you to reschedule it with more information about or with more examples from the brand insights, etc.
Mhm.
Okay. Yes, I think that we can think about this idea, and I don't know if maybe it's useful to share this presentation with the companies, and after that, probably appears a lot of new questions, and it's time to organize this session. But well, we can think together about that idea, and try to find a proposal, a date to do that. Okay.
Okay, super.
Okay.
Okay, so I will share the presentation then.
Perfect. Thank you
Thanks
very
for your
much.
time to everyone.
Any questions, Aya, or no?
No, thank you very much. It was very clear. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for your time. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
David, I need your phone number. I tried to call you many times in the number you
Ah,
have,
I give. Ah, yeah. I give
but
you up.
the number you have in the signature, I can't reach you.
I put my phone number in the chat,
Okay, thank you.
but it's plus 34 and then this, and then the number plus 34 and then the
I
number.
can't see it. Okay.
I copied this. I'm gonna send it to you in my group. Okay.
It's in the chat.
In the chat. Okay.
It's plus 34 and then 670.
Just take a photo. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, Alba. It was very insightful and clear. For sure, we are going to ask you a question. I guess I'm
Super.
maybe. Okay.
Okay.
Super.
Perfect.
I wait for them. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
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 Bye.